doing construction on the Hilton
Oh,
raising
God.
5,000, so this year it's 4,000.
Okay.
It still feels quite packed.
Yeah.
Have you been before?
No, it's my first time.
Okay,
Yeah.
Godspeed. I love that you can always have a seat whenever you want, though. That makes your life
I know.
impossibly easy.
So you just hit your record. Excuse me. All right.
I love the tattoo on your foot. Coordinates? Yeah.
Yes, Portapritani.
I love it. Good? Are you good?
Just as a director's note, just make sure you stay a little open when you guys look at each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we don't feel like we're
Yeah.
looking in on something.
Yeah.
And then everything else is good.
Got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
Let me know let me know what you need.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You're good? Good to go? So, okay, 3, 2, I'm going to give a clapper. You introduce yourself. I'll say, hey, welcome, and then introduce yourself, right? And then we'll get into what's happening, why, where, how, and so on. So,
Perfect.
hi friends, this is Ian Khan here. Okay. Good, okay. Friends, this is Ian Khan, the Futurist, here at the Milken Global Conference 2025 in Los Angeles. I've got with me Rachel Halfaker from the Milken Institute, and we're here to talk about what's happening out there. Rachel, welcome to the Futurist.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so excited to be here and really excited for the conversation today.
So this is going to be a blast over the next few days because there are so many people that have come together talking about many different things, from finance to technology to community building to infrastructure, and you're working on something related to the community.
Yes.
Tell us who you are.
Yes.
And what are you working on?
Yeah, so very excited for this conversation. I am a director at the Milken Institute, and I lead something called the 10,000 Communities Initiative. So through this program, our objective is to support thousands of communities, tribes, nonprofits, cities, counties, developers across the country in building infrastructure. So that's roads, bridges, houses, broadband, energy independence, resilience hubs, and we do all of that through our digital platform called the Community Infrastructure Center. So happy to kind of share a little bit more, but at the end of the day, what we're really focused on is how can we bring all of the different pieces and partners together to help organizations get their infrastructure built.
So let's talk about it in the following ways. Let's talk about what has been a big challenge so far to do this. Has it been the lack of collaboration? Because organizations are always happy to contribute, to work together. What has been a big challenge until now, the last decades or so?
Yeah, it's really hard to build infrastructure. It's not software. It's not easy. And so when we started up on this journey, we interviewed about 300 communities, and we said, hey, why haven't you been able to build your broadband networks, your housing infrastructure, your roads and bridges? And what we heard was, it's all of the expertise from permitting to zoning to feasibility studies to getting site control, all the way to figuring out how to finance these infrastructure projects. And for so many organizations across the country, that can be an enormous undertaking. They don't have the staff, they don't have the money, they don't have the resources. So they're really starting at square one. And I think the reason why we haven't fixed this yet is because we haven't made the process of building in this country particularly easy. Ezra Klein just released a really great book called Abundance on some of the challenges and constraints on building, and I resonated a lot because the challenge that we are looking to solve is if you get the right people in the right room with the right project sponsor, you can get the projects done. But if you don't have access to that room with capital and expertise and engineering professionals, you don't get it built. Yeah. So a lot of it is just a misorganized market that's been really decentralized and really challenging to actually put the pieces together, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah. So what segments within what infrastructure buckets are some of your favorite projects that are happening?
Yeah. So I think energy independence is huge. I'm from Florida. and I live in New York now, but when I grew up in Florida, you'd have a hurricane hit. I mean, it seemed like clockwork every year.
Yep.
So resilience is really near and dear to my heart. And so what I'm really excited about are these resilience hubs that are emerging across the country. And every resilience hub looks slightly different, but most of them have energy independence. So they've got rooftop solar, you've got storage on site,
Yep.
you've got programming, you might have a kitchen, you might have charging infrastructure. And what is essential in a disaster is having all of this continuity that is still available for community members across their cities or their towns to access in the event of an emergency. So I love the Resilience Hub movement. What I think is very exciting about it is the network of having several resilience hubs within a city. So you're really able to say, in an emergency, I know to go here or here or here. And I think it's a really beautiful initiative that a lot of communities are stepping up to build, knowing that disaster is inevitable,
Of course.
but at least we can prepare for it.
Of course. When you look at critical infrastructure, right? You've got energy, you've got food security is a challenge, clean, fresh water, you've got connectivity, which is very essential in addition to energy, let's say electricity or gas or what have you, but even connectivity. What are you seeing in terms of the improvements that have been happening? For example, you can do 3D printed buildings and you'll have a house ready in 2 hours, as an example. Or you have satellite-based internet and you stick a small antenna here and you have broadband. What are some of the things that are really making impact that you guys are excited about?
I think there's so much exciting technology that's out there. I think, I'm very excited to see a competitor in the best possible way to Starlink in the form of Amazon. It's a really good sign to have these big behemoths in technology build infrastructure, because for so long, infrastructure wasn't sexy. And so for folks that are getting into the broadband space, that are focused on really innovative SEO, low orbit technology, that everybody wins when we build new infrastructure like that. I think there are bigger moonshots out there that will fundamentally change the way that we think about place. So farming, we haven't gotten it yet, but vertical farming is super interesting. It changes the entire unit economics of transportation, it changes the origination, it changes your carbon footprint. So I think that those are the bigger moonshots that I think are really exciting, all the way down to the most basic building components. It's been so long since we've innovated in the HVAC system or windows, but the impact when you do something as mundane as changing the way that you are heating and cooling buildings, it changes everything about your carbon footprint, about your ability to withstand shock. And so I'm really excited mostly about those, I'd say, lower hanging fruit, but would I love to see a newer technology take over our transportation model? Yeah, absolutely. That's the dream. But what I would say is I would like to call attention to what's really hard is a lot of this technology exists, but it's really hard to scale. So getting the finance and going from venture to a scalable model where you can finance each of your facilities is really hard, and until we solve that for founders and entrepreneurs, they need a lot of support to actually be able to deploy this amazing technology.
Of course. A lot is being done in entrepreneurial ecosystems. There's great support from, at the federal level or at a state level. There's many hundreds of programs that are supporting entrepreneurs. Do you think that the current state of entrepreneurship in, let's say, America, if you will, what does it need to kind of bridge that gap where now everybody's innovating and it's so much more easier to create solutions in infrastructure?
Yeah, it's hard. I also run another program called the Initiative for Inclusive Entrepreneurship. So we support states and jurisdictions and tribes deploy the State Small Business Credit Initiative dollars. So I think about this a lot. Like, we've got the capital, we have these entrepreneurs. What is the mismatch here? Why haven't we really been able to support them in the way that they deserve? And I think it's a couple of things. I think that what they really need is lenders who understand them. So it's really hard to lend to an entrepreneur that's doing something radical. And so typically, you might think of an entrepreneur having to use venture dollars in a non-venture backed environment, like infrastructure. But all of the other banks don't tend to understand the risk profile or understand the addressable market. And so part of it, I think, for entrepreneurs that are doing some of this really challenging, important work, really need capital providers who get the market. So we need to be educating capital providers on the market so that the entrepreneurs are not having to justify their vision every single time they go to market. And then, of course, I always think that we need to be considerate on who gets access to capital and what demographics might have a harder time accessing that capital, and making sure that there are services to support them and finding the right type. So it's a solvable problem. The capital's there, the entrepreneurs are there, the desire's there. It's just getting folks on the same page in a lot of ways.
Earlier on you mentioned your new platform, that it's helping you do things in a different way. You want to tell us how that works?
So there's never been an index of projects that are under development. We only hear the stories of when a broadband project gets built, or when something is done, or worse, when it's a boondoggle and it falls apart and it was a giant disaster. So part of what we needed to do, because we have such a broken, disorganized market, is bring all of these communities onto a platform and say, put your projects on here, and then let's sketch out what you actually need. Maybe you're ready for capital. The odds are that you're not ready for capital. You need engineering support, you need legal support services, you need this, you need that. So we've got about 1,400 organizations that are using the tool, and about 70% of those are project sponsors. What's been really exciting is we started something in November where we said, enough. There's no clarity on what products are available for you to actually pay for this project. There's no mortgage market for your rooftop solar project. And so what we started doing were these deal rooms. So we started collecting all this great data from project sponsors and capital providers. And we said, okay, here's how you can mix and match this debt product and this bridge loan. And then we've been working with this really great group of students out of Stanford who have been building an AI model to basically start thinking about, here's the optimal way to finance this project with the tools and resources. So you can't do that without technology, so I'm very dogged on having a technology tool. But the one other thing that I'd say is, this doesn't just happen on the internet. So part of the work that we do with our platform is we go to these communities, we have regional events, we meet them where they're at. The problems in rural Washington are very different than urban Georgia. And so it's really important that as we're building this platform, we're leading with the reality on the ground.
Okay, excellent. Well, as a last comment, what would you like to see over the next few years that would give you, the satisfaction that yes, something amazing has been done?
So many things are on my wish list for where we could be improving, but I think that my dream is radical transparency and data interoperability. Whether we're talking about EV charging infrastructure, whether we're talking about autonomous vehicles, all the way to financing and what your rates on a loan are. Our market is not functional because we don't share what we have and what we don't have, and we don't know how to operate with each other's technology. And if we got there, if we got to radical transparency and data standards and interoperability, the sky is the limit. What you can do with that, once it's a functioning ecosystem that uses the same language, it's game over. We're unstoppable.
Incredible. Love it. Thank you so much for joining us, Rachel. It's been a pleasure, and we wish you all the best for your initiatives, and I am sure there will be incredible things happening in the future.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks. Do you mind if we take a picture?
Yeah,
Stuart, just take a picture with your phone as well, or...